Hi, thank you for taking the time today to join us to talk about strategic planning, especially for nonprofits. Our assumption is that you're here today because you're a leader of a nonprofit and strategic planning is on your horizon. But what we recognize is that strategic planning is a challenging process. To most organizations, especially nonprofits, strategic planning is an ambiguous term. If you put out a request for proposal, you may or may not get the same responses, you may not get the same plans of action. What we're here today is to talk about what a strategic plan should mean for your organization. There is a real need to focus on a vision-based approach that really is custom tailored to your needs as an organization, or what we call strategic planning 2.0. This is a great process that can really make sure that you're getting exactly what you need out of a plan. And we're going to talk today a little bit about how we've utilized that plan to make organizations successful. I'm Eric Moraczewski, founder and CEO of NMBL Strategies. NMBL Strategies focuses on strategic planning, leadership development, and change management for nonprofits just like yours. We started because I was leading an organization myself, the Gateway Arch Park Foundation in St. Louis, Missouri, which was the largest public-private partnership in National Park Service history. Together with the National Park Service, we engaged a group to do a strategic plan for the organizations involved, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and got a plan that really didn't give us anything of value. There was no takeaways, and we really saw an opportunity to work with organizations to make sure that there was a plan in place that was operational, and we knew there was operational because we've lived through those same challenges, and our leadership comes at this from a very pragmatic approach. Over the years, our leadership has raised hundreds of millions of dollars in fundraising activities for our own work as well as for assisting our clients. We've worked on projects on 4 continents, gotten to see some of the greatest treasures of the world in museums and parks and nonprofit organizations. And we've been covered in the Wall Street Journal, the USA Today, the Today Show, and many others, generating well over 1 billion impressions of our work. Together, we use this to make sure that our clients get a very hands-on, custom approach towards their own strategic planning needs. Strategic planning is an ambiguous process. It doesn't have a specific deliverable the same way that many other processes in your organization do. When you talk about accounting, at the end of the month, your accountant delivers an income statement and a balance sheet, and those are known quantities. Strategic planning doesn't have that same known quantity. And as such, we've seen so often organizations run into a strategic plan not knowing what they should be asking for, not knowing what they should be receiving. And in turn, they end up with something that's not very useful, and they blame the process. They blame the consultant they worked with. They blame their internal team. But really, through education, we really see a stronger opening with a request for proposal. We see a stronger process, and then we see that stronger deliverable that really makes sure that your nonprofit is getting exactly what you need out of your strategic plan. What we want to do here is take a look at how we applied our methodology and our practices to one of our clients. The America's Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin came to us in February of 2020 with a mission of bringing their museum back. It had closed their doors in 2008, shortly after their founder, Dr. James Cameron, had passed away. Really struggled to reopen over the years. They had opened a digital museum online, but a physical presence had evaded them throughout that time. What they came to us with was that knowledge that a strategic plan could align their organization. And what we worked with them on was really focusing through a process of community engagement and input early on in that process that allowed us to take that feedback from the community that would be their supporters and their visitors to really ensure that we were delivering what they wanted and needed out of this museum. In doing so, we turned that into our first draft of a strategic plan. and that draft gets revised and edited down into a final version. With that final version, that includes current operations of the museum. So if you can't look at where you've been, you can't really figure out where you're going. A strategic vision, so looking at their mission and their vision and the toolkits they have at their disposal to show why they're there, what they're doing, and how they do it. An environmental analysis. We all are well aware that every organization has external factors that play a role in how they operate. If you don't look at those as a part of the strategic planning process, you're missing out on making sure that you're covering all of your bases. A stakeholder analysis, knowing who plays a role with your organization and what role they play and how much power they have with that role is really critical to making sure that your organization is really set up to succeed. Planning. This is probably the most skipped over part of strategic plans. They leave out that second word of strategic planning. But planning is how you're going to operationalize that mission and that vision and those toolkits that you put together. It's how you're going to do your marketing and build awareness. It's how you're going to handle your operations, your staffing, your sales, anything else that's going into what you're doing to succeed in your mission. That is a critical component to making sure that your strategic plan doesn't sit on a bookshelf, because it's showing your team how you're going to succeed. Leadership challenges. Let's be honest, there is no such thing as a perfect environment and a perfect organization. There are organizations that maybe have different challenges, but every organization has their challenges. Identifying those ahead of time helps you prepare for what's to come. Budgets. If you don't look at what something costs, your planning is useless. It is feasible for every museum to claim we're going to get 1 million visitors a year, but their marketing budget is going to be $100 million to get those 1 million visitors. Well, that financially doesn't make sense. And so you need to make sure that it's financially viable paths that you're taking to secure your future. Risk management, what you're doing to really heed off some of those risks to make sure that you don't end up in a bad place. And ultimately, performance measures broken down into short-term and long-term. So short-term, you're really looking at what's happening in the next 3 to 6 months. What do you have to accomplish right away to make sure you've put your organization on the right path forward? And then what you're going to accomplish in the next 1 to 3 years, so that you're taking measurements along the way to make sure you're hitting those key categories and those key facets. What we did with all of that with the America's Black Holocaust Museum was go into Milwaukee. We really got to work with the community. We got to hear from the community through interviews, through surveys, through open communication sessions, what their needs were, what they wanted out of the museum. And oh my gosh, such a great story when the people are coming and saying, we want this museum back. We want to see it thrive. We want to see this be a focal point of our community. And we really got to see that both on the input process, but a key piece of this, of a strategic planning process, is what comes after you're done. And one of those things that should come after what's been done is re-engaging those people who were a part of your feedback. If someone was important enough to ask for information to be a part of your plan, they're important enough to hear about what came out of it. And so we always recommend organizations effectively develop 2 strategic plans. One, long form written. It can be 50, 75 pages. It could even be more. It's not something anyone's going to read other than the staff. Even your board is unlikely to read through the whole thing. But a PowerPoint or digital version is something that we recommend gets shared with your board, the community, and really gets passed around and is made very public. These 2 things are saying the same information, but one of them is definitely pared down to make sure that you're really hitting the key touch points. In doing that, you're re-engaging that group that said we cared about you, and you're using that for fundraising, you're using that to follow you on your social channels, you're using that to build more awareness, you're creating advocates for your organization. And with the America's Black Holocaust Museum, as we did that, we re-engaged the community, And that led to a $10 million gift for that organization, the largest gift in America's Black Holocaust Museum's history. Now, I wish we could guarantee that every strategic plan we did would land a $10 million gift. It would make it a lot easier for organizations to want to re-engage us, but ultimately we can't make any guarantees. What we can guarantee is we deliver a process for a custom tailored product that really gives you the toolkit necessary to be successful as an organization. What we've talked about here today is a real need to ensure that nonprofit organizations, especially, are receiving a high quality strategic plan that is useful and operational for their organizations. When that process veers and only takes on a component of that full planning process, organizations don't tend to get what they need out of a strategic plan, and they don't get the value out of it in the long run. We hope you've enjoyed what you heard today about the strategic planning process, how you can utilize it, and how our client, America's Black Holocaust Museum, benefited from this process. We're inviting you today to reach out for a 1-hour complimentary session on your own strategic planning needs, where we can introduce our team, where we can really delve into some of your biggest needs as an organization, and we can highlight some key points that will prepare you to receive the best strategic plan possible, whether that's through the Nimble team, which we obviously hope it is, or whether that's with someone else. Preparing yourself for your future is preparing yourself for the best possible outcome. Thank you.